Hello Moto GP fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Fabiano Sterlacchini, Aprilia's technical director, reflected on the team's strong start to 2026 after the Jerez test, explained cautious interpretation of new aero concepts, and outlined Aprilia's measured approach to preparing the 2027 project. He stressed validation over hype and emphasized the need to confirm gains across different circuits. Lorenzo Savadori returned to Jerez for a private wet weather test of Aprilia's 850 cubic centimeters prototype as the factory accelerates 2027 development. The session focused on early data gathering for the new engine and aero directions, with Savadori reporting steady progress despite physical aftereffects from a recent crash. Gigi D'Allegna delivered a frank assessment after Jerez. Ducati showed encouraging signs through satellite teams and test work, but the factory rider's two Sunday retirements left a bitter taste. He praised Alex Marquez and Fabio Di Giannantonio for stepping up, underlined the importance of Monday's aero testing, and set a clear priority: recover consistent results from the factory lineup. Marc Marquez's dramatic pit lane entry during the wet Jerez sprint has reignited debate over flag-to-flag rules and pit lane procedures after he crossed the track via the grass to reach the pits following a crash. The incident highlighted gaps in the regulations and prompted calls from teams and officials for clearer wording to prevent similar controversies. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Aprilia trialed novel wing and fairing ideas at Jerez, with Marco Bezzecchi running some of the most experimental appendages. Sterlacchini described the work as an initial exploration to validate wind tunnel and simulation results on track, warning it is too early to draw firm conclusions. It's probably too early to draw any conclusions. Early on-track validation is essential. Promising wind tunnel data must survive real-world variables like tire warm-up and crosswinds before teams commit to rollout. Sterlacchini acknowledged Aprilia didn't win at Jerez but remained broadly satisfied with the test outcomes. He compared the result to getting an 8 on an exam, good, but not perfect, and underlined that the team still has work to do to convert strong test pace into race wins. That tone signals confidence without complacency. Aprilia sees solid foundations but recognizes the need for continued refinement across upcoming tracks. Sterlacchini highlighted the next three circuits, Le Mans, Barcelona and Mugello, as crucial proving grounds. He singled out Barcelona for its low grip, noting it will expose critical weaknesses and help confirm whether Jerez gains are transferable. A development direction that works at Jerez must also cope with low grip and high temperature venues to be championship worthy. Aprilia will be the last manufacturer to reveal its 2027 bike but has prioritized indoor development to prepare thoroughly. Sterlacchini described the 2027 project as a hybrid stage. The 850 cubic centimeters engine is largely defined while other elements remain hypothetical and will enter a full development phase. Prioritizing controlled indoor validation reduces wasted track time and helps ensure on-track tests are precise and productive when they begin. Sterlacchini framed Aprilia's position as increasingly solid but still subject to confirmation across circuits. He emphasized steady progress rather than dramatic claims, reflecting a strategy of measured innovation and rigorous validation as Aprilia prepares both for the remainder of 2026 and the regulatory reset in 2027. That pragmatic stance, innovate, validate, then deploy, helps protect gains from being overturned by track-specific quirks or rule changes. Aprilia's Jerez work shows a team pushing aerodynamic boundaries while keeping a disciplined validation process. Sterlacchini's cautious optimism signals confidence in the technical direction but also an awareness that the next rounds will be decisive. If the experimental concepts survive Le Mans, Barcelona and Mugello, Aprilia's early momentum could solidify into a sustained championship advantage. If not, further iteration will be required before the 2027 reset. The private outing aimed to collect baseline data for Aprilia's 2027 850cc project, validating components and solutions that factory and trackhouse riders will use next year. Savadori's role is to explore new directions and feed findings back to the team. I'm also exploring new solutions. Early wet runs help identify engine and chassis behavior across temperature and grip ranges, accelerating development before dry track validation. Heat tests took place in wet conditions, which provided useful information on traction, electronics, and chassis balance. Savadori completed his planned program despite not being at full fitness after a heavy crash, underlining the priority of gathering data over outright lap times. Wet testing stresses different systems and can reveal issues that dry runs mask, making it valuable for early prototype work. Savadori confirmed that many items he has trialed are already being used by Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi on race weekends, indicating a rapid feedback loop between test rider work and race deployment. His private runs therefore serve both exploratory and immediate development roles. Test riders accelerate development by validating concepts before factory riders commit to them in competitive sessions. Savadori admitted he's still recovering from the crash impact but emphasized steady improvement and the importance of completing the test program. He described the work as intense but rewarding, focused on extracting incremental gains. When you arrive, you just keep improving. Test riders often work through discomfort to preserve development timelines. Their feedback is crucial even when not at 100%. The private Jerez session is part of Aprilia's broader push to be ready for the regulatory overhaul. Early engine and aero data will shape the Brno test schedule and the factory's rollout plan for the GP27. Savadori's findings will feed into both short-term race updates and long-term 850cc development. Private tests let manufacturers iterate quickly without revealing full technical intent to rivals, while still advancing the 2027 program. Savadori's private test at Jerez advanced Aprilia's 850cc work and provided actionable data despite wet conditions and his partial recovery. The session reinforces Aprilia's methodical approach: use test riders to validate concepts, transfer successful items to race riders, and build momentum toward Brno and the 2027 rollout. If the prototype behaves consistently across upcoming tests, Aprilia will be well placed to convert early gains into a competitive 2027 package. Ducati celebrated Alex Marquez's win and Di Giannantonio's strong showing, but the factory team suffered two damaging DNFs. Marc Marquez crashed and Pecco Bagnaia retired with a technical issue. Daligna described the weekend as mixed, positive signs in qualifying and the sprint, but a race to forget. On Sunday, we must improve and continue working tirelessly to give our riders that extra edge. Results that look good on paper can mask internal frustration when factory riders fail to convert potential into points. Daligna singled out Grazzini and VR46 for defending the Ducati name. Alex's dominant weekend and Digia's mature performance were highlighted as proof that the Desmoceticai still has pace when the setup and execution align. Strong satellite results both validate the bike's underlying potential and increase pressure on the factory squad to match that performance. The core concern is the factory riders' lack of consistent results. Daligna admitted the absence of factory podiums is noticeable, and framed Monday's test as crucial to addressing weaknesses, particularly aerodynamic innovations trialed to recover front-end confidence and stability. When satellite teams outperform factory entries, engineers must reconcile setup philosophies and ensure factory riders receive the most effective solutions quickly. Daligna confirmed that Monday's post-race testing focused on aerodynamic items, some of which are likely to be used in upcoming races. The aim is to find reproducible gains that translate from test laps to race distances and varied track conditions. Aero changes that improve front load and stability can deliver immediate benefits, but they must be validated across tire life and different circuits before full deployment. Ducati will analyze the Jerez data, prioritize decisions from the test, and push development to restore factory consistency. Sterlacchini framed the championship as competitive and exciting, and stressed Ducati's commitment to working tirelessly to regain an edge. The coming rounds and the rollout of validated aero items will be the clearest indicators of whether Ducati can convert the weekend's experimental gains into reliable race performance. Jerez offered a mixed message for Ducati, clear evidence that the Desmosedici can be front-running when everything clicks, but also a stark reminder that factory riders must deliver consistent results. Sterlacchini's tone was pragmatic, acknowledged the positives from satellite teams and testing, then fixed the factory shortfalls. The next races and the implementation of tested aero solutions will determine whether Ducati can close the gap and stabilize its championship challenge. During the rain-affected sprint, Marquez crashed at the final corner, restarted his bike and crossed the track over the grass to enter the pit lane and change machines under the flag-to-flag procedure. He waited for other riders to pass and did not enter against the flow of traffic. The maneuver complied with the letter of current rules but raised questions about fairness and safety. The combination of a stopped bike, a non-standard pit entry and flag-to-flag timing created an unusual situation that the rulebook does not explicitly cover. Key rules cited include a prohibition on attempting to restart a motorcycle stopped on the track and restrictions on gaining time by crossing pit lane lines. In Marquez's case, the bike did not overshoot the pit lane, and he crossed the white line on the outside, details not clearly addressed by existing wording. The incident exposed a narrow but meaningful loophole. The regulations prohibit certain actions in principle but lack precise language for edge cases involving track crossing, grass runoffs, and pit lane geometry. Aprilia's Paolo Bonora publicly urged a rule review, calling pit lane entry definitions not well defined. Davide Tardozzi acknowledged no infraction occurred but supported refining the rules to remove gray areas. Other paddock voices and journalists noted the issue affects only a few circuits with unusual pit layouts. Moto GP officials reportedly issued a communication to teams acknowledging the gray area and signaling a need to address it. Possible remedies include clearer wording on crossing the track to reach the pit lane, explicit prohibitions for using runoffs to gain advantage, or circuit-specific guidance for pit access. Short-term fixes often come as clarifying bulletins. Longer-term changes require rule-making cycles and consultation with teams and the organizer. Beyond fairness, the incident raises safety concerns. Crossing live track surfaces or using runoffs to access the pits can be hazardous in mixed conditions. Precedents such as previous Austin and Jerez episodes make it likely regulators will act to prevent inconsistent outcomes that could influence race results or championship momentum. Even if no penalty is applied retroactively, the reputational and sporting fallout can prompt rapid regulatory attention to preserve competitive integrity. The Jerez sprint episode is a clear prompt for MotoGP to tighten pit lane and flag-to-flag rules. Expect an official clarification or bulletin ahead of the next rounds, with a focus on defining permitted pit access routes, handling of restarted bikes on track, and explicit language about crossing pit lane lines. The aim will be to remove ambiguity, protect rider safety, and ensure consistent sporting outcomes across circuits with varied pit geometries. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!